ChatGPT. Have you gotten any work done the last week? It's such a rabbit hole. I have been obsessed with this thing since I got my hands on it. It's one of the biggest innovations in technology since the Google search bar.
It's an open source AI platform that was released a couple of weeks ago. It's free to sign up. Anyone can try it. And it will literally blow your mind. You can ask it anything you want and it will do it. It does coding, it does debugging. But if you're not a technical person and you're marketers like us, it certainly also helps you write copy, come up with search engine keywords, write blog posts.
There are a ton of ethical considerations here. Whose work is it? It's all free use, so there's no copyright. You don't need to attribute credit. Is this a good thing?
As soon as you release a really powerful tool like this, you're going to get a lot of people that try to game the system and create content quickly without adding that human touch. The way that I see a tool like this, especially for marketing, is it's a good starting point. Maybe it helps you get over your writer's block and just get some words on a page. It's going to be an efficiency tool. So people that know how to use it and know how to query the system well, I think are going to get a head start on their content generation, on their SEO, on their creativity and their promotional strategies, because it's a really good way to, I feel like, generate ideas quickly. And then we as marketers, I think, need to shift to become curators and really start to mine that content and change it and really make it resonate with your intended audience. I think the fundamental shift here is we've gone from querying to find something that exists to querying to create something that doesn't exist. And I think that's just such an incredible shift. I think the biggest change for marketing is going to be querying the system in the right way to get the outcome you want quickly, because you could spend a whole hour clarifying or saying, change this and change that. And at some point you're like, would it have been quicker if I just wrote it myself?
TikTok is where I get ideas. I will just search ChatGPT marketing or ChatGPT sales enablement, seeing all of the creative ways people are curating from this technology. And then you start getting ideas.
TikTok is all about consuming kind of short form video content, right? Versus going on web pages and trying to look at long form text. We're seeing kind of two shifts happen in real time here. One is, again, querying to create something and change it and manipulate it. And the whole TikTok trend is around really consuming that short form video content, especially in kind of the professional world that we live in. That's become even more important, right? As we're all becoming hybrid and distributed, the role of video has really become elevated as well. So I think the two together, it's really going to shift how we work, how we write, how we create content. Just the other day, I was trying to brainstorm ideas on a tagline or a promotional tagline for a campaign. And I just threw in an example I came up with. I was like, hey, give me 20 different alternatives. And a couple of them were actually really good and got me thinking in a different way. So it's almost like your own personal assistant.
I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of organizations that are going to start churning out much more volume. Maybe they did 6 ebooks a quarter. Now they're doing 20. And this is happening at every company across the board because everyone knows they need to develop thought leadership and get their brand out there. When do we start feeling oversaturated?
I think of the sales and marketing challenge just in general is that there's so much noise out there. And with the role of technology and how that amplifies efficiency and output, that problem just gets worse, right? So for prospects and for buyers, it's going to be about sifting through the noise and trying to cut through the BS and trying to find the gems and what really is authentic and real. I draw a correlation with sales engagement platforms and when that first came about, right? Before, reps who could type fastest and hit send quickly or use mail merge and try to get prospecting emails out. And then the outreaches and the sales lofts of the world came around. And the few early adopters that used that generated a lot of output, generated a lot of efficiency, maybe reached their buyers. But there comes a point where everyone's sort of on a level playing field and everyone's generating all these prospecting emails and all this noise. And then it's all about trying to cut through all that noise and how do you stand out? That becomes the fundamental challenge for both sales and marketing.
You know what it doesn't do yet is it say, hey, look at this person's LinkedIn and write an email based on their personal experience or hobbies. That's probably right around the corner. But imagine when it can do that and you're actually able to say, look at this person's LinkedIn profile and write me a personalized email for sales content management solution. They're currently using incumbent XYZ, and here's 4 bullets where we differentiate. And it then writes that email for you. And that's where something is lost, right? There's already a lot of automation, personalization tools out there, but I don't know that people are going to trust any type of personalized communication soon. I think in 6 months, everyone's going to see a personalized email and they're going to assume it was written by a bot.
Oh, yeah. I think we're headed in that direction for sure. And I've seen articles out there about the use of deep fake technology as well, and how that could potentially pose a threat to prospecting and trying to make those personalized video introductions. And sometimes people could be potentially using that to look authentic, but game the system in a way. Buying and selling is still a very human act. People buy from people. And I think you're absolutely right. When you're on that call, that's going to be a wealth of information that you can capture from your prospect, which isn't going to be available on the web. So this AI engine is only as smart as the data that's available to it. It's not like I'm posting my needs on social media so that the AI can extrapolate that and craft something really relevant for me. So I think there's absolutely still a role for SDRs and sellers and marketers, because like I said, buying and selling is human. We're not sharing everything about ourselves online. These AI engines are just an efficiency play, and it's going to complicate that initial kind of contact. But once you start having that call and conversation, that act is still always going to require a human. I don't think you can ever fully automate that, especially in like complex B2B sales. I think certain maybe like consumer type stuff maybe will be automated, but in large, complex B2B sales, I think there's always going to be a human element to it. There are ways that marketers and sellers can derive value right now with ChatGPT. I just tested a couple use cases. One being A/B testing subject lines. If you're doing prospecting, whether you're creating templates for sellers or you are a seller, just put in a subject line and say, hey, maximum 3 to 5 words. Give me like 10 different variations. Try them out. The other one is around SEO keywords, right? So you can say, hey, here are the list of my keywords. I want something on the topic of sales coaching, generate 100 more, and it will do that for you. So there's just so many different applications that you can use it for. But I think the recipe for success is really being specific with your ask, because you're going to get what you put in. If you just ask a general question, you're going to get a general answer. If you really put in the time to say, hey, I want 10 things, I want you to exclude this, and I want you to think about it this way or shape it that way, then you get like a really meaningful response. So
I was able to just take an email and say, rewrite this email for people in financial services, rewrite this email for people in life sciences. And it did a pretty good job just changing words here and there to make it relevant for that industry.
Yeah, you can create derivative tests from what you know is working too, right? So if you've got a sequence or a subject line or a format that's really crushing it for you, I would say take a shot at creating an alternative based on what the AI engine says.
Yeah. I asked ChatGPT for the top 10 applications of its technology for sales enablement, just to see how people might be using it. And one of the suggestions that came up was using it to develop training. If you give it the right inputs, it can create training documentation. It already knows the sequential steps that a seller needs to do to be able to do prospecting in LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
I don't think it takes away from the human element of selling and what you can learn from that, right? Like I said, similar to how we gather knowledge from TikTok and short form video and what people are doing in the real world. That's how reps like to learn too, right? They want to see what their peers are doing. What's the top performer that crushed quota? How is he or she selling? What are the techniques they're using? And that's just something that AI will never be able to understand and replicate. Yeah, there's always the formal skills and the training and all that kind of stuff, but complementing it with that real world advice and peer insights and best practices, that's really the name of the game today.
I think you're going to see more companies leaning into the human side of their brand and their marketing, and even calling it out as this was written by a human. I think some buyers do want to talk to a machine. They want to be self-service. They don't want to talk to a sales rep. Yeah. But when you get into a certain point in the sales process, you want human, right? You want a human that understands your pain and your situation.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, sales is about trust. And we just talked about a bunch of reasons why people won't trust technology. So that's why I think the human element's always going to be there. And people buy from people that they trust in. That's really the essence of sales. So I think you're going to always see that. Yeah, is it becoming later in the sales process? Sure. I want to do a bunch of my research up front. And then eventually, like you said, when the time is right, then I want to talk to a rep. And it's interesting also the concept of going back to something that's human and moving away from automation and technology. I also draw a correlation with when marketing automation first came out, everyone was like all about email as a channel, and email was a new thing, and like direct mail was dead. And like direct mail made a comeback. And I was like, hey, no one's actually sending direct mail anymore. Let me go back to that channel. So it's all about your channel mix and where you can establish that authenticity and trust. As soon as people gravitate to the new thing and everyone's doing the new thing, people neglect some of the older tactics, and maybe there's a way to reach your buyer there.
And now everything digital is going to be tainted soon. I think handwritten notes are going to make a big comeback. You'll get stuff in the mail and it looks like handwriting, but you can tell it's just printed.
Oh, I can tell. Yeah, I can tell right away. Goes right in the trash. Those are the things that are going to start to become valued because everyone's going to know, oh, they used AI to do this. They don't really care. So I think authenticity and the way in which you can come across as authentic is really going to be the game changer for marketing and sales.